Hello everybody, I am NicoD. So this is the Orange Pi 5A. So there is also a 5B. The 5B doesn't come with NVMe over here, but it does have eMMC. So this model doesn't have eMMC. And this one also doesn't have Wi-Fi on board. So this is the cheapest of the RK3588 boards. This has got the RK3588S, so this is a cost down version. So this doesn't have got PCIe 3, so the RK3588 has got PCIe 3, the RK3588S only has got PCIe 2. So let's go over the specs. Let's go clockwise. So first we have got 24-pin GPIO header over here. Here we have got the SoC, of course. So this has got 4 times A55 at 1.8 GHz and 4 times A76 up to 2.4 GHz. Not all are clocked to 2.4, so it is between 2.2 and 2.4 GHz. We see the UART. Then we see the power LEDs. Then here we have got 2 times USB 3. I think it's over one controller. So then we have got gigabit Ethernet and USB 2 ports. Here we have got a camera connector. Here also a camera connector. And here also a third camera connector. Then here we have got our LCD 1 and LCD 2 connectors. Then here we have got USB Type-C, so this can also do DP, and this is USB 3. Here we have got our HDMI 2.1 up to 4K or even 8K maybe. So this is the audio in and out, so it can be used for microphone, but it also can be used for audio out. And then we have got the power, so it is powered with USB Type-C. Only 5 volts, so no PD, only 5 volts, up to 4 amps. Here we have got an on-off button, there is a microphone over here. Here we have got our SD card reader, so this is handy because it's easy to take out the SD card and put in another with another image. With the other boards that only have eMMC and no SD card, you cannot do that. So this also comes with an M.2 slot, so you can fit a normal NVMe into it. Turn it around. So you can fit it into it. It does work like this, but it sticks out, of course, so the smaller NVMe's that come up to here, they cost 2 times more than this, so I'm using this to review this board. I must say this is the cheapest RK3588 that I've got, and I've had a problem when filming this, so I don't know if you can see this. This is a capacitor that just fell off. It fell off the board from here. So here there is a capacitor, and I think it is going to the gigabit Ethernet for power of gigabit Ethernet. So here you can see there is a trace going to the top, but there's also a trace to the bottom. So maybe it is power for both the USB 3 and also gigabit Ethernet. But the board still works, so I have to say this. It is the only RK3588 that's broke until now. Something fell off. I hope you can see it. So that is what you get. It is cheaper than the others. The quality is less, so that you have to expect. Yeah, I can't say more about that. So we have got Armbian for this, so let's go to the Armbian download website and download Armbian for it and install it. So here we go! So here we are at the download page of Armbian. So the first thing we see is Orange Pi 5. So I'm gonna download Armbian Jammy Gnome. So there is also Armbian Jammy CLI, so this is server image. They all use kernel 5.10. Here it is explained how to use Panfork and the multimedia repo. Here we can download other images, so Armbian Bullseye CLI, Armbian Bullseye Minimal CLI, Armbian Jammy Cinnamon Desktop, Armbian Jammy Minimal CLI and Armbian Jammy XFCE. And if we go down a bit more, then we see the rolling releases. So these are weekly rolling releases. So we have got Armbian Lunar and SIDS. So I'm on Linux here, so once this is downloaded, I will extract it. In Linux we do that with xset. So I'm opening a terminal. I type xset-d and then Armbian and I press tab. With Windows you can use 7-zip to decompress it. If you use Balena Etcher, then you don't have to decompress it. So once that is decompressed, I open GNOME disks. So that is the tool that I use in Linux. So here is the SD card that I'm gonna write it on. I remove all the partitions. I click the options button and restore disk image. There I select my image and here it is. And I write that. And once that is done, I can plug in the SD card into my Orange Pi 5 and boot it up. So here we are at the first boot. So all I need to do is choose a password for the root. Again, password for the root. I choose bash. ZSH is cool, but I still use bash. My username and password. NicoD. No, not my location because I want the English language, but I'm from Belgium. And now let's go to the desktop. Here we are. So let's start with sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. While it is doing that, I'm gonna change my keyboard layout. So I'm using a Belgian keyboard. So I go to settings first. I'm gonna change my appearance. I hate the dog on the left side. So auto hide dog and put it on the bottom. Make it a little bit smaller, 40. And now go to keyboard. And add a Belgian keyboard. And remove the US keyboard. Okay, now let's wait until this is finished. So now that is done, I go to Armbian config. So I type sudo Armbian config. So here I'm also gonna change my keyboard. So I'm going to personal keyboard. And here I choose Belgian. If I don't do that, then the login is still in QWERTY and not in AZERTY. Now let's start installing some programs. So I'm gonna install the GNOME Shell extensions, GNOME Shell Extension Manager and GNOME Tweaks. This to make my desktop look the way I want it. So let's open the GNOME Extension Manager and let's install a few apps. So we have got the application menu, the places indicator, the removable drive menu and the date and menu formatter. And then I search for monitor. I go down a bit and here we see the resource monitor and I install that too. So now I've got my applications over here. I like working with that a lot more. I hate that Android-like way of working on GNOME. And here I set up my resource monitor. So in CPU I show frequency. Disks I turn off. And network I'm using Ethernet, so I'm turning off VLAN. Thermal, that doesn't work on here. I don't know what's wrong with it. So now I've got my desktop the way I want it. Now let's add some shortcuts on the bar. So add to favorites. Chromium, add to favorites. Transmission for my torrents and GNOME disks. That way I can quickly access all the programs that I'm used to working with. So I also install Console, that's my favorite terminal emulator. So I open Console by typing Console, I add it to my favorites and I remove this terminal. I go to the settings of Console, manage profiles, and I add a profile. So NicoD, I make it default profile. I changed the appearance to have a bigger font because I can't read this. Okay. And as you see, NicoD is default. So if we now close this and open it again, then the font is a lot bigger. That's better. Let's make it a bit bigger for you. So here is NeoFetch. Let's split this window and let's see if Helix info works. No, it doesn't, so I'm gonna have to install Mesa Utils. And now try that again. Helix info. And here we see it is LLVM pipe. So it doesn't have any GPU drivers. So let's go to the Armbian website. There to download. Or to Orange by 5 here. And here we do all this. So we add this PPA for the GPU driver. This is the pan fork driver. And also add the multimedia PPA. Okay. Now let's do sudo apt update and sudo apt dist upgrade. And once that is done, we install all this. So Mali G610 firmware and Rockchip multimedia config. And when that is installed, I reboot. So you're in the middle of the video, let me talk about something else first. So Armbian is doing a fundraising for funding equipment. So you're already at 2,400 euro. If we can have between 4,000 and 8,000 euro, then we can afford one 80-core ARM64 server with 256 gigabytes of RAM. So this is an Ampere server. It will be used to build Armbian images for your favorite boards. If we can reach between 8,000 and 16,000 euro, then we can afford 2 servers. And above 16,000 euro, it goes into the maintainer's budget. So if you are able to help, please help. Thank you very much for this. And now let's go back to the video. So I did reboot. And let's do Helix info -B again. And now we can see that Panfrost is enabled, or Panfork actually. So let's open Chromium and let's see if it works on Chromium also. So let's go to Google and here we search for WebGL Aquarium. And this runs fine, so 60 frames a second, that is great. So the GPU driver also works with Chromium. So now let's open a YouTube video. So let's search for NicoD Ricardo for my interview with Ricardo. Here it is. Oh my god, I have to install an ad block. I can't handle YouTube without an ad block. So ad blocker Chrome, and here we've got it. So add to Chrome. I know I earn less money with YouTube when I use that, but it is just not doable without an ad blocker. So the sound doesn't work, so I have to select my correct sound device. Gonna have a talk with Riccardo Pardini, the creator of Armbian Next, the lead developer. So let's put this on 1440p of Armbian Next. So the newest build framework for Armbian. So with this, all the images are built. So he rewrote everything and he is going to explain how he done it. So hello Riccardo, please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Hey Nico, thanks for having me. So I am Ricardo. Ricardo Pardini is my full name. R Pardini is a nick I use around. I am 42 years old. I'm of Italian blood, but I was born in Brazil and I have been living in the Netherlands for the last 8 years. But right now I am in Brazil on vacations. It is 34 degrees Celsius right now, so I apologize for the lack of sleeves, but that's all you gotta do. I work as the lead Armbian build system developer.
And here a 4K video. So it does play 4K YouTube pretty well, but it is using a lot of the CPU, so it isn't using the VPU. I don't know what's wrong. Hello everybody! everybody, I am NicoD. So it is no secret that I love Rockchip RK3588 ARM SBCs. So I've gathered 5 of them right now and I hope I will receive a few more too. So in this video I am going to compare the boards that I've got, and I'm also going to add the Orange Pi 5. I do not have the Orange Pi 5, but I can show you the specs. I cannot tell you anything else about it except the specs. So the boards that I've got is here the NanoPi R6S. This is my NAS. Here I've got the Raksha. So it does play 4K video pretty well. That is good. So now let's utilize the GPU a bit better. So let's download Armbian Gaming. So we type Armbian Gaming in Google. Here it is. And here we download. And now extract it to my home folder. Now browse to the Armbian Gaming folder. And there /bin/bash .armbian-gaming.sh. Here number 2 for Jammy. And I'm only gonna install Xonotic right now, but you can install box64, box86, Wine and PPSSPP with this. So this compiles the ARM64 version of Xonotic. This runs great. So to play it, I go to the Xonotic folder. There I type /all run. It does more than 100 frames a second. That is awesome.
Three, 2, 1, begin! Impressive. Triple kill.
So this runs amazingly well. I love Xonotic so much. So now another thing. Let's open File Manager. And here let's search for a Samba share. And it doesn't work. So for that we need to install GVFS backends. So sudo apt install GVFS backends. And then we reboot. And after rebooting we can browse the network. So here is my NanoPi R6S NAS. So I'm gonna copy my NicoD Blender files and I'm gonna copy a few video files. So here a 1440p video file and a 4K video file. Let's copy that to the home folder. And let's see how quickly this goes. So 54 megabytes a second. That is near the limit of the SD card. So the SD card reader can do up to 70 megabytes a second. Now let's play a 4K video file and open Edgetop. One issue I've got with the RK3588S with Armbian is that it doesn't save the sound device. So every time I reboot I have to reselect it. ever held in my hands, so I'm very happy with it. So this is the NicoD Vim 4, so this is the newer version of the NicoD Vim 3. I also have got the NicoD Vim 2. I will make a separate video where I compare these. So the NicoD Vim 3 has the Armlogic A311D sock, while this has got the Armlogic A311D2. So the only difference in the numbering is the 2, but there is a big... So that is clearly using the VPU driver, since it is a 4K video file and it was using next to nothing of the CPU. So that is great. So the VPU does work, just not with Chromium. It is possible to make it work with Chromium, I don't know how. And now let's do a 7-zip benchmark. So that performs just the same as any other RK3588. And let's install Blender and do the NicoD Blender benchmark. So the idle temperature with my big heatsink is 37 degrees Celsius, but it does overheat when maxed out for a long time. And the result is 3 minutes 35 seconds. The fastest I've seen it from an RK3588 is 3 minutes 25 seconds. So it is pretty close. But this one isn't clocked to 2.4 GHz on the big cores. So it does get pretty hot with this heatsink. I'm using a rather big heatsink. So I've written a simple bash script here that runs the NicoD Blender benchmark 10 times. And with that, after a few minutes, it will go to 80 degrees Celsius and there it will throttle. So instead of 3 minutes 35, it now is 3 minutes 53 seconds because it is overheating. So if you want to do maxed out tasks on it, then it is better to use a fan or a bigger heatsink. So I guess that's about all I have to say about this board. I like the sock a lot, it is a great sock, but the quality of the Orange Pi 5 isn't the best. A capacitor has fallen off, so that ain't great. Otherwise I can recommend the board if you just don't touch it. So thank you all for watching, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, see you all later, bye!